With the coming and going of Gamescom, usually our year's most bland presentation, comes a new trailer for Persona 3 Reload. Joker from Persona 5 is going to appear in Persona 3 Reload's DLC expansion pass as a challenge battle. Wow.
Stop looking at me like that and sit down, kid.
As usual with this expansion pass, the internet is full of opinions. My own perspective is that whether or not I like or dislike this, I'm not going to say no to more content being added to this pass. $35 for a costume pack, a few BGM changers, and a story expansion is a little bit steep to me. But seeing as things have come out more, episode Aigis is going to expand its own content with additional social events and a challenge fight that at least shows me that ATLUS is putting some work into this DLC. As for the addition of Jonkler from Persona 5, I'm kind of indifferent. I'm not really that hyped about it, but I can't say I hate it either. Persona 5 Royal featured boss fights for the P3 and P4 protagonist, so having Jonathan show up here really isn't that surprising. I do think that people are getting a little out of hand being super mad about this. Really isn't that big of a deal. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone is going out spending $35 just for the Joker part of this expansion pass.
Joker from Persona 5.
Now the other question is, why? I mean, Joshua is kind of out of place. There's a protagonist that would have made sense, and I can get behind the why Jimmy and not FeMC. After all, FeMC is the other protagonist of Persona 3, and even if she doesn't get her chance in Reload to be the playable character, at least throw her a bone and let her be the optional challenge boss fight. I do agree here, but I can see two reasons as to why ATLUS is not doing this as far as we know. One is that Johnson's animations all exist. It's probably considerably less work to either port or recreate his animations in Reload and design a boss fight. Plus, Arsene and Sataniel are already in the game, so you don't need to worry about making any new Persona models for him. FeMC's only existing HD model is fan-made. The one you see everywhere, that's a fan-made model, as far as I know. That's not an official one. So in order to do this boss fight, they would have to make a full model for her, then make her version of Orpheus, and then create new animations for her, as well as hire a new voice actress. In short, it's probably more expensive. I don't know by how much, but I doubt that there's a lot of budget left over to go into this DLC. Also, something I want to stress here is that I don't believe in laziness of the developers kind of argument. The developers are not the ones to blame here. I try to emphasize this all the time because I see these arguments always go in the wrong direction. They want to make the best game they can make. It's the company that winds up being the limiting factor, and there isn't much the devs can do about that. Remember, ATLUS is a company, Sega is a company. The developers making the games are human beings. Of course the devs want to make the best game they can make, but you can't expect that every company is going to let them make that kind of game. Companies are run on business models and money. There are a lot of factors going into this that you have to consider when talking about video games and game development. And criticizing the devs and using the devs as your shortcut to saying the company is not how you should do it. Now, as for the second reason I had that I mentioned before, it's a lot more theoretical. ATLUS wants to squash all speculation that they are working on a FeMC expansion for Reload. And this sounds like a wild and stupid conspiracy theory because it kind of is. But by not touching anything related to her, it leaves the impression that they are simply not going to work on her for Reload at all. Admittedly, you can be on the other side of this and say that this does not change anything, which I can also understand. It is entirely possible that Joseph was chosen because they don't have to make a new fight for when FeMC gets her own version of episode Aigis. But I'm in the camp that after Wada has stated multiple times that they aren't doing the FeMC route, that it isn't happening. I just don't have hope at this point.
I'll be praying that your future will be XYZ.
Honestly, outside of the Elizabeth fight, which is kind of restrictive, the challenge battles themselves have never held much meaning to me. I'm glad ATLUS is trying to add bits and pieces of content into this pass, since it is a pretty pricey DLC pass. But again, you could easily solve my issue by letting me buy episode Aigis on its own and not the extra dribbles of content. All in all, while I am excited to play this DLC expansion, I'm pretty indifferent to seeing Jacob Persona 5 again. But I'm not against it. And I'm not arguing against ATLUS milking P5. I really don't care at this point. But you can let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things ATLUS, Persona, and anime RPG related. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.